napinga hiyo mambo ya amendment bill hiyo.
Sasa hii hatuwezi endelea na biashara. Kama uongozi juu iko mbaya, sioni kama tunaweza kuwa na maisha mzuri.
Wingu la pamoja.
Saa 7 kamili saa za Afrika Mashariki. Hujambo na karibu kwenye awamu ya pili ya mazungumzo kuhusu open contracting. Asiyefahamu open contracting ni nini? Ni ule mchakato tu mzima wa serikali kuhakikisha kwamba tenda zote ama stakabadhi zote kuhusu tenda zinawekwa wazi, ama zile taratibu za kuhakikisha kwamba tenda yote ile inawekwa wazi pasi na kuficha stakabadhi yote ile. Hii ni awamu ya pili ya mazungumzo haya. Awamu ya tatu itakuwa inakujia juma lijalo sana wakati kama huu. Mimi ni Henrik Sobuchunju na podi hii imeandaliwa nami vile vile. Natumai utafurahia, natumai utaelimishwa na kile kitakachozungumziwa hapa ndani. Karibu. So, episode 2 is here. You must have missed something with our previous episode. Check it out on anchor.fm/ICJ Kenya.
There is always interference in the tendering process, either through favorism or no basis.
Umefia wapi? Ni ya nini? Wewe umeipata wapi hiyo?
And what should you expect in this episode? Have you been depressed before when trying to follow up on a contract?
I've worked in the civil society and I've seen the station where people manipulate even the system.
There are so much of bureaucracy, like you have to follow so much procedures. It is so structured.
In this particular episode, Bilasio, Wandera and Wilkister Oduor from Kariobangi Paralegal Network shall explain how the civil society is aiding in vouching for open contracting, especially in government. Decades of economic theory have taught us that markets thrive when all actors have access to the same information. Asymmetry of information creates room for unfair practices and administrative burden for the companies, civil society, citizens, and government who have to deal with thousands of requests about public contracts every year. There is a better and more transparent way for governments to use public money, one that incorporates disclosure, engagement, and open data at the heart of it. But welcome to Kenya, where open contracting is seemingly a bitter pill to swallow.
In Nairobi here, for example, where we are based in Kariobangi, our MP right now is in court. Honorable Gakuya is in court. Sorry for mentioning the name, but he's in fact he's in court in Makadara, and the family company to carry out contractual work within Embakasi North constituency. So there are people who have been charged for that. We know there are so many, even some head teachers around who have been interdicted for misusing money meant for feeding program in the school or for buying books. And these are things that merit the government now to change tune, to say they are not going to send money directly to schools in that same account, so that the government now purchases books itself and delivers to schools. And these things happen in a way that you may not suspect. For example, I want to give you a very practical one. When there was the what is it called? The where youths and women register, AGPO, for companies to deliver services or to acquire tenders. And then the tender says you must have at least a minimum of 5 million shilling in your account to deliver services or to deliver stationery to a government space, office. And then you find this youth is just 22 years, they've left school, they don't have that money. They go register the company. And then they approach an elderly person like Wandera, or come to Jenny at ACJ here, tell her, I'll give you the money to go deliver. Then out of the 5 million, when we get paid 7 million, I'll give you guys 1 million. The rest of the money is mine.
Wandera, tell me this is not a movie.
It's not a movie. This is what was happening. And that's why when this thing started, when the 30% allocation to women and youth and persons with disability in terms of tendering came up with that policy, most of the people came up with the companies. And this happened so much when there was advent of devolution. Then after first supply, people started crying. People are saying we are not being paid because someone financed the deal. Then there was delay in Treasury releasing the money to counties, and so their suppliers were not paid in time. You know, it's not a movie; it's a reality.
Thank you. As a paralegal, Wilkister, have you observed something on open contracting within the government that you feel things are not done well somewhere?
Well, I will start with the community first before we go to the government. What is up? Okay, open contracting is not new to me, yes. But according to my experience, it is new to the community. It is something like it is new to the community. Mm-hmm. People hear of open contracting, but most of the people, they don't understand it. Mm-hmm. And another thing is, according to the knowledge that I have, I knew that walking to any government institution, you'll just get the information, whatever information you ask for. According to the experience that I have, is there so much of bureaucracy, like you have to follow so much procedures. It is so structured for you to get that information. So for the few institutions that I have visited, the government institutions, is like you have to, it is so structured for you to get that information to the extent that you even tell them that this is something that, you know, like a mwananchi, I have a right to just walk in and get the information that I require. But to them, it is like, it is not so clear to them. Like the knowledge is not so much embraced by the not only the community, but also these institutions. So something needs to be done, maybe to enlighten them.
Wilkister, have you been frustrated before by what you're saying? Okay,
we visited a hospital, and the nurse was so receptionist, you know, like she was so welcoming and all that. But now, on giving information, it was a big challenge. For her, she was like, there is a structure that we need to follow. There is no way she can just give information like that. And I remember myself with the team, we tried to explain to her, and we were like, this is something that the information, like we need to get the information. It is something that, like it is our right. You be given the information. Mm-hmm. But according to her, she was like, you know, I'll be going against the authority. You need to follow this. You need to come with the letters and all that. So I felt it was frustrating in the government institutions.
Should ICJ train the nurses? Or maybe Jen Muhia?
Not even training the nurses. It is not even about training the nurses. It is training the government, the staffs, the civil servants. Yeah, because maybe, yes, we have this as a law, but they don't know about it.
Asante. Wandera, what has been your experience? You seem, when you speak, I see, and allow me to use this word, quote unquote, a frustrated paralegal. Is that the case?
You know, to some extent, when it comes to sharing the information, like you log on, for example, you log to any constituency development fund, the network will run and then say they'll display, we are developing content for this website soon. How does that say? And they know the constituency has got now the two mandates to support education and security services. So they're supposed to either build or renovate a police station, or construct a new one, and equip it, or build a school or renovate, and supply furniture to schools. So you go to NXCDF, it's not there. Right now, when you log to you go to the National CDF, National Constituency Development Office, head office, and you log into the website. The last contract that is there is for acquisition for 2018-2019. Now we are in 2021. Should be 2021. So why are they not updating to the current financial year? Why are you still having content for 2018 there? Or contracts, like you say, the contracts for 2018, 2019. So that brings frustration. The frustration is, I want the information, and then why is someone hiding the information? There are two reasons why they hide. Wow. They don't want it to be questioned. They don't want to be queried. Number two is to protect the interests of the friends whom they give the tenders to, so that they are not known.
There are two reasons why the contracts are being hidden. Yeah. Number one and number two.
Yes, I said number one is that they don't want people to know the information so that they can ask, we can query. And a good example, the head of the state promised journalists like you that they'll give the tender and the whatever for the SGR. And up to date, I don't know, you'll answer me if you have ever been given. And so that's one, so that people don't question. Of course, when a journalist, if I don't know you, how can I approach you for business? And that's why I said in the first statement that most of the youths who are running around, who Agipo register, you do this, they do not have the money. How can you do business if you don't have the money?
In April 2019, State House Chief of Staff Nzioka Waita told NTV journalist Mark Masai to forget about getting a copy of the SGR contract between the government of Kenya and China. Just to quote Mr. Waita, opening quote, "The president is a human being, and if he gave a commitment that cannot be followed through, it is not for the world to cry. His hands are tied by the law." End of quote. But what Mr. Nzioka forgot is that open contracting could have helped the president escape what is facing his government at the moment. Imagine losing 2 billion shillings a day. Experts aver that open contracting may have helped to counter this. My colleague Marimbet Kamau will help in translating what the president said in Kikuyu language.
Hello.
Hi Marimbet. I would want you to listen to this,
Okay.
Then tell me,
Koguo ri tiga kuhegesha andu haha ati kuga ati bilioni igiri ni ikuhuthika kiria turenda ni indo icokere andu neguo tiga uka haha kuhegesha iria maiyaga o muthenya ni ikirite bilioni icio igiri andu aya ni buri tondu ri na ndikuhetiga kutheka ati kukuga uguo tondu urenda gutwira ati ni kuhuthika bilioni igiri ni kuhuthika ndiwe bilioni imwe ni kuhuthika ki neguo we iria cia kura huthira ri o mwaka ni cigana.
Can you tell me what the president is saying, Marimbet?
Exactly. So, anasema,
yes,
wache complain. Ati bilioni 2 zitatumika. Kwani bilioni 2 ni pesa nyingi, na kwani ni watu wangapi wewe binafsi ama watu wenye wanao complain au wanaosema bilioni nyingi ni hela nyingi, wao wenyewe wanatumia pesa ngapi? Anasema kwa siku kunapotea hela nyingi sana. Bilioni mingi kweli ni pesa nyingi. Yes.
So is the president comparing the 2 billion yenye anapoteza kila ama 2 billion yenye inakuwa spend kwa BBI na the amount inapotea?
Yes, exactly. He's comparing two things first. The amount that on daily basis to corruption, and also the amount that some of these politicians spend to BBI. So then he's asking, the money that we lose to corruption, can it equate to these 2 billion shillings that we're going to use for BBI?
So, to put it simply, we are losing a lot of money, or we are losing more than 2 billion shillings.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That is going to be spent on BBI.
Let me also declare that I happen to sit also in a board of a school, government school. And so when we are doing tendering for food, we draw the tender and then say, you must meet A, B, C, D. 1, certificate of tax compliance. Number 2, you must have minimum of this amount in the bank account. Like we're saying, at least $1 million to supply food in the school, as proof that you have the capacity to carry out this business. Surprisingly, sometimes back in 2018, we did call out for a tender, advertise, send out, then someone came and tendered. And then unfortunately, they did not deliver the right specification of beans that we had requested. I had to refuse. I had to say, no, we did not order for this. We ordered for this because this one was for low price. Why do you have to pay this person with a more 1,000 shilling and is supplying inferior goods? And I had to refuse. And the others had to support me and they had to return the thing. The next time, This guy was complaining. He called the officers at the sub-county. That board, they are very arrogant. They are stubborn. People want to protect their interests.
Wandera, do you think you can survive in government? How tough you are?
Yes. Shockingly, my brother. When this thing came, by then I was in Tangaza. We were doing some course in Tangaza University. Yes. When the NYS scheme came, kazi ya mtaani, whatever. Then NYS calls us. One of the lecturers had gone there and said, there's a group of people here who can give the youth good skills on civic education. So we were conducted like 12 of us from Tangaza to go. And then we went to NYS headquarters. We sat, served lunch. Then we were told, you guys want you to go and train your the youths on how to be good citizen, what have you. Then I asked them, where's the contract? What do you mean? I said, I cannot engage with the government without a contract. And after a week, NYS come. So we would have been used, not paid, So it's about ethics, my brother, and how you are brought up. We have very honest public civil servants. We've gone to other spaces, in other schools. People have given us information. You say, you want this is the account. Nowadays, the government doesn't give us money to buy books directly. The government nowadays purchases books. We don't know how they tender there, but we just get books received, and they show us this is the LPO, this is the invoice, and these are the receipts that the government used, and this is what we received. Very honest. But you go to other spaces, more so we have found very difficulty working in the health sector. You go find youthful doctors, youthful medical officers, they are very open. You say, what do you want? Information? Come, take you to the in charge. You go to the in charge, this is a very good thing, but you need to come they pull out files now. You need to come up with you see like this one, they wrote to the director then approved, and then they wrote to us. You see now it's our director medical services who has signed down here that you need to go ahead and carry on with the baseline survey or the research. So kindly go back and let the director write for you something like this. Then when you come, we give you the support.
Is this a generational gap? Because I understand Wandera here is above 40, and seemingly you seem to be below 35. So do you think open contracting also has to do, with number one, how exposed somebody is to the world, level of education, literacy levels? Does it have something to do with that? And I can see Wandera is shaking his head. We shall come back to him. But what is your opinion on this?
We can't say that it is your level of education or how exposed you are. We will still go back to the institution. We will still go back to the, system. Exactly. Yeah, because let's say I'm below 35, then I'm employed to a system. I'll have to follow what the system says. Yeah. So it is not about the education. It is not about my education. Yes, I'm educated. I'm exposed. I know all about open contract. I know this is what I'm supposed to do. But you see now, the feedback that we are getting, I have to protect my job. I have to protect my salary. I have children to take care of. Such kind of things is what is hindering us.
Wandera, should Obuchunju tackle the system head-on?
It requires a multifaceted approach. System one, it has culture. Hapa tunafanyanga vitu hivi. You see that culture is there. And that's why I don't agree when you say it's about age or education. Most of the people who have been dragged through the courts for corruption are very educated people. Most very youthful. We have seen very youthful people in court for corruption. So it's just about ethics and ethos of work. As I said, if you don't have that fear for work and service, it will not be there. Even if you work in an organization like ICJ here, there are people who can even just try to manipulate the system of the accounts. We have seen this because I've worked in the civil society, and I've seen the station where people manipulate even the system. It's not about the education. Yes, education is very important. And we acquire education to improve our lives, to improve the lives of others, not to make others suffer and ruin their destiny. This is what is happening.
Wandera, let me ask you a personal question. Have you been depressed before when trying to follow up on a contract?
No, depression, no.
Stressed is the word.
Labda stress kidogo, but not really much because there's something I tell this my team here when we go. There are various tactics that you use when you're going to work, because I have had the experience having worked in the prison before kitambo, and so kuna kitu inaitwa conquering the ground. Number 2, kuna something called disarming the other person with information. Like when someone emerges from the office, ninyi mnataka nini? Shouting. Yeah, so you disarm the person. Mkubwa, sisi tumekuja tu kuitisha hii. Once you call him mkubwa, you have disarmed the person. But you say, ati unatuuliza hivyo kwa nini? Hujui tuko na haki ya kuwa hapa. No, you will not be compatible. Number 2, as you said, this need, as my sister said, this need to train people. People working in public spaces, yes, the system is there. There was a training that he started what called culture change. I don't know where that program ended in the public service. Because when the president, the head of the nation, can say 2 billion shillings are lost every week, every day.
Every day.
Yeah? And he's the head of the state. What is he doing? We didn't talk about the ethos. And they say, unakuja we CJ unalia, sijui nani we unalia, and you have all the machinery.
So what are you doing now to change this whole issue on open contracting? Because I understand you've partnered with ICJ, you're doing something. Can you speak to this?
Yes, I partnered with the ICJ to monitor a few contracts, open contracting processes and the disclosure of information in Nairobi County in 2 sectors, health and education. Now, in education, we are looking at the 5 projects: supply and delivery of instructional material, which include books, chalks, and what have you, instructional material. We're looking at the furniture. We're looking at the infrastructure as the 3rd one. We are looking at the security services. And then the 5th one, we're looking at ECD. Yes. And then in the health sector, we're also looking at 5 projects. We're looking at lab equipment, which we narrowed down to things like malaria testing, HIV, hypertension, and what have you. We are looking at beds, hospital beds. We are looking at the delivery beds. Of course, not all health facilities have got a delivery unit. So we did that deliberately so that to bring that the dynamics that may exist in the health sector. So those are the things we are looking at. So lab, pharmacy, the personnel that work. Then we're looking at the beds that the patients need to sleep on. They have had cases where people are sleeping 2 or 3 or 4 on a bed in a hospital. What's the gap? But let me say that with the engagement that ICJ has given us to partner with them, some brief findings that we've found the schools to be more receptive than health facility. Because health sector, there's a lot of protocol. Go to the sub-county medical health officer, then let him authorize me to give you the information. And then we need to the first one, facility, the person who turned us off after he had been given an okay by very youthful doctors was also a youthful person working in the lab. You see, now is your letter from the boss authorizing that you need to come here and ask the question. So it's not about the age. So that has been there. It has given us an opportunity to really learn. This is a partnership with ICJ to learn just the reality on the ground. There is need, as Wilkister has said, for people to be trained, and more so the community, on Executive Order number 2 of 2018 on open contracting. Because it's an executive order. It says that all contracts must be free. Like after the COVID billionaires, then the head of the state said, Minister of Health, I want those things on the platform, on the public procurement portal within a week. Then he has been trying to search that thing she's not getting. The other thing we've learned is that there are so good people, good public servants working in the health sector and in schools who are really doing good. Some using their own resources, make sure that systems run.
I don't know how to proceed now with this. Wilkister, I wanted to ask, why the health sector, as Wandera is saying, why is this dark space in the health sector? Can answer in 2 sentences alone.
Can we say it is because of the structure in place. Then their way of maybe reporting.
Do you think, Wilkister, we as the media fail you?
Yes.
Why yes?
Okay, if I go back to the training, we talked about we need to train these people on open contracting.
Yes.
I think if we can not only depending on ICJ, but if we can get this thing in the media, so many people are listening to the radios, so many people are watching televisions. So if we can have you see, we always have an advert talking about something, and people will run to that thing or follow it up. So if we can just have, you see, the media people to come out and say that we will be talking to our wananchi about open contracting. Because I sincerely appreciate what ICJ is doing on open contracting, because when we go to these places, at least people are realizing something, even if they're not sharing the information, but at least we are leaving them with something. Oh, so open contracting is about this.
Wandera, what is this something that Wilkister is saying? Do something. What do you want to be done by the media?
Publicity. On open contracting, for example, so many scams that have come. And in this course it's called diversionary. When this one come, now they bring a bigger one so that the people forget this one and they start chasing this one.
Case in point, Wandera.
There are so many that have come. Like when in the COVID billionaires, he just emerged, then another one, I don't know which one followed next. So that people forget the COVID one, then they start now focusing on the current one. So those are what we call diversionary tactics, but there's need. And I was sharing with some medics some officers like the in charge. They tell you, if my sub-country director is not aware, I cannot do. So there's need to amend the law. More so the law on how the reporting system should happen, on how public officers should relate to each other. And we've been pushing this, by the way, in other spaces where we also belong with ICJ, called the Police Reforms Working Group, that there's no need for the OSPD to come and give my boys engaged in the fire, and the OCS whose boys were engaging in the fire is there to give the real story, the correct version. Yeah. So we're really pushing the amendment of the law that should give public officers who are there to be spokesperson on an issue, rather than waiting for the senior person who is on a higher grade and who is not at the ground to come and give the information.
Putting contracting information in the open also allows businesses and civil society to monitor who gets the contracts. It is shocking that women-led businesses supply only 1% of the global public procurement market. More of it in episode 3. My name is Henrik Sobuchunju. Goodbye.